Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the channel World of Wrestling, here today to discuss about AEW Dynamite November 10th, 2021 review. The show is pretty decent. The ending was absolutely fantastic. This ending to Dynamite with the contract signing is definitely a sign that Adam Page will become the World Heavyweight Champion, thankfully. You can definitely feel it. I mean, there was a last hoorah for Kenny Omega at a desperation, using Don Callis as a guy that was not there for a while. People were wondering for the last couple of weeks what the hell's happened to him, and he showed up at the end of the show as a cameraman and clocked Hangman Page over the head with a camera. Very similar to what Edge did back in the old days in 2007 when he tried to screw The Undertaker out of the World Heavyweight Championship in the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, in the Hell in a Cell match against Batista in 2007 Survivor Series. So that's what it reminded me of in a way, but it wasn't for a world title, thankfully. If that would have happened during the World Championship match, folks, I would have been extremely pissed and told you guys this is bullshit. But thankfully, that did not take place. It took place on this episode just before the pay-per-view. We will see Don Callis in Kenny Omega's corner, and we will see this match take place this coming Saturday. Looking forward to it, and I will definitely be reviewing this show. Possibly live. You guys will see this on your subscription box, probably about the day of. So if I do it live, it will be Saturday morning. I will post that on there and do a live show with you guys. If not, I will be doing it in video format like I always do. You guys will know one way or another, so keep an eye out for it. But either way, I will still provide you guys a review on the pay-per-view regardless, whether it's live or by video format. I understand that I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately. There's not a whole lot to talk about with WWE, and I hate to be repetitive and give you guys the same old shit with them. I'll try next week definitely to put a little bit more effort in the WWE side of things, since you guys really enjoy hearing what I have to say on those episodes between Raw and SmackDown. I will definitely try to do a Raw episode on Tuesday night next week, and give you guys my overall review, so I don't have to sit there and watch it live. Oh, God, I could not sit through literally 3 hours of Monday Night Raw. Can you really blame me? I don't think you can. But I do record every episode of Raw and SmackDown, so I will definitely give you guys a review on SmackDown at least, definitely. May just try to watch SmackDown, give you guys the review on Friday night for SmackDown, and then give you guys my review of Rampage on Saturday afternoon or something like that. I'll try to fit it in somewhere, somehow, but that's just my overall thing right now. I understand, though, I haven't been uploading a whole lot of videos, which I've lost one subscriber of. I apologize to you guys if you've been a little bit anxious to hear anything from me. I understand that I haven't been uploading a lot, and just haven't been able to come up with any good ideas. I don't want to be repetitive, like I said, about Raw with WWE. But you guys do really tune in for those videos, so I'll go ahead and try to upload as many as I can every single week with WWE content. Except for NXT, I am not going to sit through watching a developmental system that looks like a fucking mirror image of Raw and SmackDown when they're not even the real thing. So, anyway, let's move on and get into Dynamite and talk about AEW stuff instead, because when you talk about WWE, it really is depressing when you're a wrestling fan. So, let's get into it. One of the matches that took place on this show that was actually good was Pac and Dax Hardwood. That was actually the true main event of the show when it comes to wrestling matches. But the match that kickstarted the show was Bryan Danielson versus Rocky Romero. Now, I know who Rocky Romero is. I've seen him wrestle in New Japan Wrestling when I had the New Japan Wrestling World subscription. And he's actually pretty damn good. I mean, he's not the greatest in the world, but he is actually a pretty darn good wrestler. Decent ring. I would probably say average, like 3 out of 5 stars type of thing. But he definitely worked well with Bryan Danielson in this match. Bryan Danielson, I think, could have a good match with a fucking poster board or some shit. I mean, this guy, he's a great technician wrestler. I would have loved to see Bryan Danielson face Kurt Angle in his prime, or even Chris Benoit. Those two guys would have given him the match of his life. I think those two guys would actually have produced probably Bryan Danielson facing either Chris Benoit or Kurt Angle in their prime. I think would have made him look like a megastar, honestly, because those two guys were one of the greatest technical wrestlers in pro wrestling today, or in the history of pro wrestling. The only other guy that you could possibly put Bryan Danielson up against is Ric Flair in his prime, because he was a good technician wrestler. He may have been slower than the other two I mentioned, but he was good at technical wrestling. And Bret the Hitman Hart, he was another one. So those are about the 4 guys I would have loved to see Bryan Danielson face back in the old days, when we were all technically kids or not even born yet, because Ric Flair was wrestling back in the 70s. But yeah, I really feel that would have been a great thing to see, Bryan Danielson going up against those 4 guys. I think he would have had great matches with those 4 guys. But yeah, this match wasn't bad. A good way to open the show. Bryan Danielson has been facing a lot of good competitors and been having some really entertaining things take place on each Dynamite and Rampage as well. I'd have to say I would go with Miro, though, to win this match. Again, still. And here's the reason why. You could really play a good storyline off of this. Bryan Danielson has been dealing with a lot of matches. Very physical. He's been banged up throughout the entire last couple of weeks leading into this pay-per-view. Besides just the tournament he was in, he also has faced a lot of opponents and competitors, I should say. But whatever. But yeah, bottom line, he has faced a lot of opponents leading into this pay-per-view besides the tournament. And you could really go with Miro being the winner of this tournament. One, because he never even had to qualify in the first round. He had 1 match, and now he's on to the finals. So he's got a real huge advantage. Number 2, he's got the size advantage as well. He's a very buffed up dude. He's not an easy guy to take down. Daniel Bryan's a smaller guy. So with all those things wrapped up in a nutshell, Miro is more the likely person to win this match, and I would go with Miro on this whole situation, because Miro, hasn't gotten much of anything outside of the TNT Championship. Bryan Danielson losing this match at the pay-per-view, I don't think would be a big loss to him so much. Simply because he has 0 losses, number 1. Number 2, he will easily bounce back from this, number 2. Number 3, Miro deserves an opportunity, not to become world champion, of course, but just to have a shot at a world title. He's never had that in his entire career. So personally, I kind of feel that would be the best direction or path they should go on out of this whole situation. Because Bryan Danielson's a very obvious person. Miro's not so obvious. People wouldn't assume that he would actually win this match. So that's why I would go with Miro on the whole situation. And not to mention, we're looking at Hangman Page more than likely winning the World Championship. So him winning the World Championship, I would definitely go with Miro too. So whatever takes place before the World Championship match is definitely going to tell us who's winning the world title. Because if Miro wins, chances are Hangman Page is going to win. If Bryan Danielson wins, I don't know. They may go with Kenny Omega, because usually in traditional pro wrestling, they always go with a face versus a heel. Now, I mean, they could go ahead and go face versus face. That's something that usually works out. But why would you want Bryan Danielson to lose to Hangman Page? If I put Bryan Danielson in a world championship opportunity, I want him walking out the world champ, not losing. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. So that's just how I feel about that. But Bryan Danielson won this match in a very good technical wrestling matchup. He puts him in a single leg crab and makes him tap out, and that's how the match ends. Tony Schiavone actually tries to interview the Inner Circle, but they even make it down the entryway, and they are ambushed by the America Top Team. They had Dan Lambert do a powerbomb from the top rope through a table with Chris Jericho being powerbombed, and then basically having him do a Walls of Jericho, and then Dan Lambert, while he's on microphone, while applying the Walls of Jericho, said, "This is actually a Boston Crab." That's the original name of this maneuver. This was done in 1975 at some territory wrestling promotion. I forgot the name of what he said, but he said this move has been around for a very long time, and he gave the year and all that shit. Well, technically, if you really think, it was Championship Wrestling in Florida, 1975. That was the name. Sorry. But technically, that is not really the Walls of Jericho. The Walls of Jericho is actually when he slightly turns the guy and then presses his knee up against his back. Now, some people would call that the Lion Tamer, which is what he called it in WCW. But I would consider that as the Walls of Jericho as well. But hey, to each his own. We also had a trios tag team match with Jamie Hayter, Rebel, and Britt Baker versus Tay Conte, Anna Jay, and Thunder Rosa. This match I didn't pay too much attention to, but, I didn't really care for this all that much. And Tay Conte allows Tay to pin Rebel, and Rebel actually loses the match for them. So Thunder Rosa, Tay Conte, and Anna Jay actually win this match. It is what it is, I guess, but nothing special here. Jungle Boy went up against Anthony Bowens. This was actually a good match as well. Anthony Bowens is actually a good in-ring competitor as a singles wrestler. I like what he has to offer. Unfortunately, he has been losing the last two matches he's been in, which is to be expected. He's going up against bigger names than himself. I mean, Bryan Danielson of all people. And then you got Jungle Boy, who's a young upcoming star that will eventually be in the main event scene at some point. I'm pretty sure he's not going to be in the main event scene with this gimmick. I'm sure at some point he's going to evolve from this gimmick. But for right now, he's getting over as Jungle Boy. And eventually, at some point, he will come up with something even better. But right now, what he's doing is working. So I would just stick with it. He's a great mid-card wrestler. He's a great tag team performer with Luchasaurus. So they got everything going. He's got everything going for himself right now for where he is at this point. So I wouldn't be too upset with him. I wouldn't be too upset if I was in his position, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's just how I feel about that. I think Jungle Boy's in a great position. I think he should be extremely happy where he is right now. Pretty sure he is. I wouldn't think that he would be upset. I mean, he's pretty much doing great stuff for this company, and he's winning matches on his own as well as winning tag team matches. So at the end of the day, they're caring about his singles career as well as his tag team career with Luchasaurus. So kudos to them on what they've been doing with him. And he wins this match with a snare trap, STF maneuver, and makes Anthony Bowens tap out, and that's pretty much that. Post-match, though, Bobby Fish attacks Jungle Boy. He hits an exploder suplex against the ropes. And out comes Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, and Bobby bails. Video package features Hangman Page. We cut to the Super Click. Adam Page introduces Bobby Fish to the Young Bucks and vouches for him. The Bucks make it clear that the Elite stands tall with no dispute. Basically, is what he's saying, because he cuts some references to the Undisputed Era, and Adam Cole wants to see Bobby Fish versus Jungle Boy on Rampage. Bobby seems game for that. Obviously, Bobby Fish is losing this match to Jungle Boy. I do not believe he's going to lose. I highly doubt that's going to take place. More likely, Bobby Fish is losing at Rampage this coming Friday. But I think it would be a great way to end the show. I think that should be the main event of the show. I did hear that there's going to be some like lumberjack match. I don't know why the fuck they're using the lumberjack concept in an AEW promotion, but whatever, I guess. That was fucking weird when I heard that announcement for Rampage coming up. I'll tell you guys exactly who it is in just a moment. I'm sure they're going to post that on this review I have. They also have a video package of CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. There was actually backstage interaction between these two. CM Punk kind of initiated the interaction, and Eddie Kingston got pretty pissed off. This match is going to probably be the best match on the entire card. Really, outside of Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, this is probably the most important matchup outside of that. Personally, that's how I feel about it. Because these two have some real animosity. I don't know if it's real or not, but what's been shown on television to us, the audience, definitely you feel that animosity, whether it's real or not, doesn't matter. Because this is a fucking match that people are going to be happy to see. Bottom line. We also had Wheeler Yuta versus Wardlow. Wardlow wins this match very easily. One-way domination. Killed him, crushed him, and pinned him. And that was it. Post-match, the best friends check on Yuta. But in comes HFO. Hardy nails OC with a side effect while caught in a chair. Big whoop. I already talked about Kingston and CM Punk backstage having some intense segment, so I don't have to reiterate that. We also have Dante Martin and Leo Rush going up against Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty. I believe is how you pronounce his last name. If I mispronounced it, I apologize. But this match was alright too. Leo Rush displayed some great athleticism This guy is going to do some pretty cool stuff on this promotion. I don't think he's going to do anything, main event wise. I highly doubt that's going to take place. He's not the main attraction or somebody that should be focused on very much. But as a mid-card wrestler, like a TNT championship run and so forth, or a tag team champion with Dante Martin, I would be cool with that. He's definitely got something to offer to the audience. He has his moments where he could, be a champion in certain areas of this company, being mid-card titles like I just mentioned. But doing anything super special, like being in the main event of a pay-per-view, highly doubt that's going to take place. If they were to create a cruiserweight championship, which they possibly could, but I'm not going to say they will. But if they did, he'd be the first one on the list that I'd make as cruiserweight champion. Now, if you wanted to use the cruiserweight championship the same way you have used the TNT championship on AEW, I would be cool with that. So you get to see the cruiserweight title in the main event of a Dynamite episode or something like that, giving it some some credibility as being considered a major championship, because every title should be looked at as important, because that's the point of what they are. They're a championship. If you are a champion, you should be treated like a champion, not treated like second class bullshit. But it is what it is. But I honestly like how they treat their champions. I think they do a terrific job with that. I would love to see a tag team championship match on the main event of a pay-per-view someday. I think that would be kind of cool. There's been quite a few matches that could have been the main event. One, for example, being Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus Young Bucks and Revolution 2020 was an excellent example of that. That could have been the main event of the pay-per-view, but Jericho and Jon Moxley headlining the pay-per-view for the world title, definitely understandable. If that match wasn't on the card, that tag team championship match should have been the main event of the pay-per-view overall, because what they did in that match was superb. Excellent shit. So, yeah, Lio Rush and Dante Martin won this match in a very awesome, entertaining match. And then we had Dax Hardwood in the main event against Pac. This match was also another good match. A lot of good mid-card wrestlers getting highlighted on the show. I have to admit that. And they were given the proper treatment. Pac ends up putting in the Brutalizer and making Dax Hardwood immediately tap out, so he couldn't sustain further injury going into their pay-per-view matchup against the tag team champions of AEW, the Lucha Brothers. So that is what took place there. We then had Cash Wheeler come out and attack Pac. The lights went out. And then all of a sudden the lights came on and Andrade and Malachi Black show up. And they're now allies to the Pinnacle at this point, because MJF is paying them off to do a job to get rid of some of the people that are challenging the Pinnacle in certain areas. So that's what their job technically is at this point. This led to Cody Rhodes and the Lucha Brothers coming down to the ring to help out and save Pac's ass from a total beatdown, a 4-on-1 attack, and it led to the Lucha Brothers and Cody Rhodes to come to the rescue. There was later an announcement added to the card that Cody and Pac will tag team together against Andrade and Malachi Black. So they managed to throw Cody Rhodes into this match on this card, even though we've already seen Cody and Malachi Black compete. Now we get to see them in a tag team situation with Andrade and Pac added to the mix. I don't know how much of a big deal this is. I think personally this should be saved for a Dynamite episode because this does not belong on a pay-per-view. Now the match they had originally before this one, their third encounter between Black and Rhodes, I would have actually made that the match to put on the Full Gear pay-per-view. But they chose to go this route, which, hey, I don't know. I don't know why they needed to add this match, period, anyway. There was enough stuff on this card to kill a horse, and they have a lot of great stuff taking place. This wasn't really necessary. It was just as a way of saying, hey, let's just get Cody, Malachi Black, Andrade, and Pac thrown on the show so they have something to do and get some credibility to be part of the show. That's really all this was to me. It didn't seem like anything more than that. Which I kind of feel like that's a slight devalue to the pay-per-view, but not by much. I mean, it's not going to do a whole lot. I mean, there's too many things that outweigh this pay-per-view than just one little fucking match that really doesn't mean a whole lot of anything and has been buried into the ground in 3 different matches between Cody and fucking Black. So I'm not going to, bitch about it too much, but I kind of feel it kind of devalues the pay-per-view just a little bit, but not by much. It's not like it's ruining the pay-per-view by adding this match, but they got enough on this card anyway. I think they got already 8 matches. I think this would make it match number 9. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And I don't think these pay-per-views should be 4 hours. And if they're gonna be, make it at 7 o'clock, not at 8. I don't want to fucking sit up and watch this show till 12 o'clock at night. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to, of course, watch it till 12 o'clock at night and then give you guys a review. It's Saturday night, so thankfully, if you're going to do it on Saturday night, that's one thing. Sunday night, no, I can't do that shit. I got work the next day. I ain't got time to sit here and watch a 4-hour pay-per-view, then come on here and give you guys a full-on review, and then go to work the next day. So, thankfully, they're doing this on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. But anyway, the last thing on the show was the contract signing. I enjoyed this segment very much. This was actually only real legit segment that had any actual talking going on in the segment, like a promo for the match. They also did a promo hype-up video for MJF and Darby Allin. I thought it was okay. I really believe this match is probably the second or third most important match on the entire show. So 3 matches I'm really looking forward to, most definitely. Actually, 4. Actually, it would be Miro, Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, MJF, CM Punk, and Eddie Kingston, and of course the World Heavyweight Championship match between Hangman Page and Kenny Omega. Tag team title match, it's alright. It's not going to be as good as the steel cage match between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. So, get that out of your head. That ain't happening. It should be a good match, but it ain't going to be like how it was at All Out. I'll tell you that much. So they go ahead, they sit down, they get ready to sign the contract, and Hangman Page is the first to sign, and Hangman Page says, look, man, well, actually, Kenny Omega picks up the mic, and says some stuff like, I saw a lot of myself in you, Hangman Page. Saw myself as a guy who, I had my issues, my problems, and sometimes I failed, I got back up, I went ahead and I moved forward. But there's one difference between you and I. I did it alone. When you failed, I had to have me And the Young Bucks, we had to pick you up and put you back on that horse to get you to look like you're the man who's going to do that cowboy shit. And these fans are going to go crazy over it. And you're great wrestlers, no doubt about it. But there's one small thing. You can't do it alone. You can't do it on your own. You're incapable of doing it. That is the reason why you have not become world champion yet. And he says, coming to Sunday, it's going to happen again. I'm going to beat you. I'm kind of, paraphrasing what he said. I'm not saying exact words. But you get my point. Hangman Page said, you know what? You're right. I was your tag team partner. I fell. I had a support system around me somewhat. And I went in a downward spiral. I got into drinking. I broke away from you guys, all that stuff. But you know what, Kenny? I think you had a tag team partner once before me. And didn't you feel a little like you couldn't measure up to your tag team partner? He's referring to Kota Ibushi, which I thought was fucking great. Unfortunately, unless you're a diehard wrestling fan and you've paid attention to other wrestling promotions, you wouldn't really know that Kota Ibushi was Kenny Omega's tag team partner. So that's kind of a drag. And that's one of the issues of New Japan Wrestling. It's not a mainstream thing here in America. Only the hardcore wrestling fans know a lot about that promotion. If you're not familiar and you would like to get into it, I highly recommend it, because the way New Japan Wrestling is getting, they are wanting to become mainstream. They are mainstream in their own country, but they're not really recognized by a lot of fans here in the United States who are pro wrestling fans. Now, granted, if you got a show showing up in California in the Cow Palace in San Francisco, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be about maybe close to 5,000 to 10,000 people that might show up to the event. It won't sell out, because Cow Palace, I think, is about 12,000 capacity, possibly 15. So, I mean, it's a place where it's very well known. It's been around for a long time. And Cow Palace can obtain a lot of people in one shot. So, New Japan Wrestling has its moments where they're really good. But with the passing of the Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and the rest of the major players of the Bullet Club from back in the day, well, not back in the day, but a few years ago that were there, are no longer there. They affected the loss of those guys that I just mentioned. Going to AEW has really hurt New Japan Wrestling and Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor most definitely, because they haven't even recovered from the loss of those guys. So that's what's caused a lot of issues for those two companies. I mean, New Japan Wrestling's hanging in there, but they're not something I really care to know from anymore, because they haven't made up for where they lost those names that we watch on AEW. I mean, Will Ospreay's okay, but it's not exactly what I would call main event material. I mean, he's good. Really good, actually. But he's not somebody I'm too familiar with. So, I don't know. Just my opinion, I guess. But, bottom line, the whole end scenario of this is Kenny Omega says, look, man, I am trying to encourage you to be the absolute best. And who knows, maybe at the end of all this, maybe we can actually become friends again. He says, at this point in time, the only thing I really want to do is go ahead, sign this contract, which he does. And then he said, I'd like to go ahead, stand up and shake your hand, and let's kill it at this pay-per-view and let the better man win. And that's it. So he goes ahead, he shakes his hand. You think for a moment that the thing was actually genuine. You think that Kenny Omega said all these things. Yeah, they had their differences and so forth, and it just felt like he really meant it. And I think technically, from the shoot end, like the real life Kenny Omega, he feels this way, because I really believe they're friends in real life. I don't think that anything that we're seeing on TV is legit. But he came across like a very genuine person in this situation. And I thought it was really cool. I thought we were going to see some sort of like maybe a slight breakthrough. But at the end of the day, I knew that something was going to happen. And it did. Don Callis showed up as a cameraman, posing as a cameraman, and smashed Adam Page over the head with the camera. And he was bleeding like a stuffed pig. This led to Kenny Omega taking blood off of his forehead and applying it to the contract as if he's signing it in blood. A lot of old school contract signing there, AEW. Sorry to tell you, but WWE already took that idea from you guys a long time ago. 2003. Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon contract signing for WrestleMania, and Vince McMahon decided to take a pen and jab him in the fucking forehead and then sign the contract with his own blood. And that's pretty much how that contract signing went. So this was very similar to that, only with a camera instead of an actual pen. The one with the pen with Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan surpassed this immensely. Big time. If you want to do comparisons between contract signings between Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan and Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. But this was good. This was a very good contract signing. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't one of those typical, normal, everyday ambushes or contract signings that you normally see every single time they sign a contract. Chaos takes place and it all breaks down into one big giant chaos fest. This was actually a little bit more subtle, with a little bit of chaos added into it. There was some physicality, but it wasn't like your normal, typical, everyday type of contract signing, which I appreciate. So kudos to them. I thought they did an excellent job with this whole entire show. It was mostly wrestling based with a little bit of build, and then the ending of the show was a complete build to the World Championship match, which I think was a great job on their part. So, at this time, guys, I got nothing more else to say here. I've been busting through for almost 40 minutes, so I'm done talking. You guys can do all the chattering you would like to do on the comments down below with me and how you guys felt about the show. Let me know how you felt about it. Hit the like button if you liked the video, of course, and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And I thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.